Hello, everybody. It's me, Skelton, with another vlog chat for you. As you probably might know by now, I am a big fan of the South, all things Southern. I am very much into the South. I like it. I like the people. And I think it's sort of the irony here. I think I wouldn't appreciate the South as much if I was from the deep South, probably, because I'm from up South. And I think being from up South, we get a lot more Yankees, deal with the Yankees. And I experience the Northern culture because you're on the edge, so I know what the Northern culture is like, and I don't like it. So I love the South. I love the warmth of the South. You see, because Southerners have a certain way of communicating. Now, when we do, what Southerners don't like, I'll tell you number one thing we don't like is sarcasm. We don't do sarcasm, okay? The only time we say sarcasm is we say, bless your heart. If someone's really, if you see a picture of someone and they don't have their best photo day, say, bless their heart, they look very interesting, bless your heart. But always, bless your heart can be also a very genuine thing. That's as close as we get to sarcasm. So the thing about the South and the culture of the South is a strong sense of tradition, of heritage. Now, our Southern heritage is definitely under attack by these pesky Bolsheviks everywhere, taking down our glorious monuments to heroes, military heroes that gave their lives to defend their country, and these people in the Confederacy were not traitors because they were fighting for their land. Now, if you call them traitors, we'll have to call the Founding Fathers traitors. They were fighting, this war, the disruptive war of Northern aggression, was really a war between the Federalists versus the Anti-Federalists. It had nothing to do with slavery. All these liberals go on and on about slavery. Well, first of all, one thing is the South didn't want to expand slavery. They just wanted to be able to bring their slave with them over into Kansas once in a while. It wasn't a question of expansion of slavery. It was just, bringing the slaves over there, if they want to bring their property with them. That was the question. And and I'm not defending slavery. I'm so glad we don't have slavery. But I'll tell you what, there were many freed Negroes in the South, many who fought for the South. So it just defeats the leftist narrative that the war was over slavery. By the way, the Lincolnite Republicans, too, who side with the leftists. Let's not I don't want to get into the war because I know it can go on forever. But let's just say that all my ancestors fought in the Confederacy, and some were slave owners, some were not, some were very wealthy, some were not. Most of them were just regular people, and so they just were fighting for their country, their home, because Virginia was invaded. Now, on my Southern heritage side, Southern heritage is very important to me, but I'm a product of a mixed marriage. Yes, a mixed marriage. You see, because my father was not from the South. He was born and raised in the Midwest. So he grew up in his family. People were from Ohio, Indiana, but and so when my mother married my father, her family was outraged to say the first time that someone in our family is marrying a non-Virginian, or a non-Southerner at least. And so they just put up a big fight, and my grandfather said, I will not permit it. I will not permit this wedding to take place. Well, my mother went over my father's family history, and luckily none of his family were here during the war, so they didn't come over until 1900 from Germany. So she said, well, he's not really a Yankee because they weren't in the war. So then my grandfather said, well, Europeans beat their wives. Well, anyway, my parents got married, and that was that. It was a mixed marriage. Now, growing up, by racial or by heritage, part Yankee, part Southern, it creates an identity crisis. You don't know if you're Southern, you don't know if you're a Yankee. But I always thought I was Southern because I was raised Southern. I was raised with Southern manners, Southern hospitality. I always was taught to say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. And I grew up in Northern Virginia. So whenever we go into Washington, D.C., which was very rarely, my father would say, hang on, kids, we're going into commie country. You see, Washington, D.C. is a southern city technically, but it's very, very liberal. And what happened is the liberalism of the North has spilled into the South, especially the border states. And I'm not going to deny it. Virginia is pretty much a border state because it is the northernmost southern states. You got your communists coming down, and Virginia, North Carolina, especially any state on the East Coast in the South, is going to be infiltrated by these people. But you go out to Mississippi or Alabama, well, then you just don't have to deal with those people anymore. See, Virginia, they always say we're the filter state because the Yankees come down here from New York and New England and Pennsylvania and Michigan because they want warmer weather and lower taxes. Unfortunately, they bring their politics with them. But the people in the deep South, they don't have to worry about it because we are the ones that have to deal with it. So that's why my appreciation for the South is more. If I had been born and raised in Alabama, I probably wouldn't even care because, there's no contention there, but when you're living in Virginia or North Carolina even, or any state that's closer to the north, you're going to find those Yankees. Now, and in Virginia, if you want to find Yankees, you don't have to look very far. Go to any place like Colonial Williamsburg. You just hear them a block away. You know how Yankees talk? They always talk really loud, like, and the old people in the north, they stick out like sore thumb because they don't dress up. Northerners don't dress up for anything. They don't dress up for church. They don't dress up for... Southerners will dress up for a fish fry if they think they have to. Northerners just don't dress up. You see these old Northerners, loud voices, brash voices in their sweatpants and their sweats. Not a pretty picture. My grandmother, born and raised in Richmond, she wouldn't leave the house without tons of makeup, perfume, a dress. She usually made her own dresses out of the curtains, like Scarlett. And, and my granddaddy, he had the best suits. He had tailor-made suits. He'd go to Beecroft and Bull or any of the shops in Richmond, local men's shops, and he'd get the best suits, and he was always dressed when he leave the house. You don't look at these Yankees. They always say how backward Southerners are. At least we dress up, okay? At least we... But no, I'm not dressed for this video because it's pretty hot in here. So I was... so another thing, too, is being ambiguously Southern. The thing is... I spent a lot of my early summers with my mother's family, all from Tidewater. A lot of people say, where do you get the accent from? I don't know why, but I picked it up from the Tidewater. My relatives, all from Tidewater, when I was 3 or 4 years old, I spent my summers with them. And when everybody says, Tidewater, well, they know what Tidewater is. It's that part of Virginia that in the eastern part of Virginia. And everybody has their own culture there. It's not the Deep South, but it is very similar. The Deep South molded their culture after Tidewater, because a lot of the Tidewater, when they ruined the soil, planting all the tobacco, they went south and west into Mississippi and Tennessee, and they brought that culture with them. But I hear a lot of people from Alabama say, well, y'all aren't really the South. Or I dated a girl from Alabama once, and she said, well, Virginia's not really the South. It's like she said we were Diet Coke Southern. But I don't care. I really don't care. I think that the thing about Virginia, and I will say this, is that I think a lot of people from the Deep South are jealous because Virginia Southern is a more sophisticated Southern. We're more sophisticated Southern. And they want that, but they don't have that. They're like, hey, y'all, every 5 seconds. But they don't have the sophistication that Virginians have, and I think that's why they don't want to include us in the South. But that's ridiculous because you can find that also in the Carolinas and parts of Georgia. You find that very sophisticated Southern. And it's very different from the lowlands or the other upland South because just a very different way. And I think that's what one of the things is they're jealous. And also we have Robert E. Lee, we have Stonewall Jackson, all the great, generals of the South, most from Virginia. We have Patsy Cline. Patsy Cline was basically the female Elvis Presley. And she was born and raised in Winchester, Virginia, and she got her start in Washington, D.C. What do I love about the South? The Southern culture is so rich in food and all kinds of things like, we got your spoon bread, of course, from Virginia. Brunswick stew, I love Brunswick stew. I love spoon bread. I love sweet tea. And I love all the food we have. Oh, this food is so good in the South. Biscuits and gravy, And what I notice when I go further north, just a little further north, not only is it hard to get sweet tea, but the food really stinks. Have you tried the food from, Chicago and even like in Baltimore, they have this stuff like weird food. It just doesn't taste very good. It doesn't warm your soul. Doesn't warm the soul. And it isn't 500,000 calories. But I love the savory food we have in the South. Everything is almost fried. Everything is fried. But you can also have that good collard greens are good for you. That's one good healthy Southern food. But we have Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A is Southern. Even though they spread out, they're beyond the Mason-Dixon line. They're mostly Southern. You have Cracker Barrel. I love Cracker Barrel. But I'll tell you one thing is why people hate the South. It's because they know that our conservatism, our heritage of honor, will never go for communism. We will never fall for communism. In fact, there's a quote by Margaret Mitchell. See if I can bring it up here. So Margaret Mitchell said something very interesting, which I think is very true. And this is a quote by Margaret Mitchell. She says, "Here in the United States, the communists are bending all efforts smearing the South and Southerners because they know that we are one of the strongholds of conservatism and are likely to resist communism more fiercely than the large industrial sections of the North and the Midwest." Yep, that's very true. You see, but right now, well, Virginia's almost completely gone. I know that. But North Carolina, they have infiltrated the South, at least part of it. And even the very southern states are getting more liberal. But we know that I love that the honor and tradition that's in the South. And I love that Southerners, we Southerners, we don't forget things, and if someone does something, we never forget, but we do forgive, and that's something, a quality we do. So we don't really hold grudges, I don't think. But it's just that all the Northerners that move to the South always want the benefits of living in the South, the better weather, the nicer people, the lower taxes, but they want to bring their yucky Northern stuff with them. And it's like, we do better things better in the North. I will tell you this, though. There are very rude Southerners. Not all Southerners are polite, and they're very polite Yankees. But in general, the culture of the South encourages more polite. Now, when you address people in the South, and you call people sir, it doesn't matter what age they are. They can be 3 years old, and you call them sir. I remember when I was about 4 or 5, and we went to this diner in Stanton, Virginia, and the waitress said, "What will you have, sir?" And I was like 4 or 5 years old. That's a hallmark of the South. But another thing about the South, and this is changing, is the politics were never in your face. When we first moved back to Richmond in the late 90s, it was liberal, but you didn't have it in your face. Now you do. By the way, I'll be ranking some southern cities in terms of their southernness, only southern cities I've been to. But I'll be ranking them on a scale from bitter Yankee to sweet tea Southern. So we'll see. But this is why I love my Southern heritage. My roots go deep in the South. My mother's family, not just Virginia, but we have the Carolinas. I have ancestors from Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee, you know, and all, you know, very proud Southern people. And that whole slavery thing, I mean, that was just a fad that was dying out anyway. That wasn't part of the war, you know, really. I just think that people hate the South because they're jealous. I think they're jealous because they don't have what we have, and they want what we have. But anyway, folks, that's my video on my Southern heritage, why I love the South, and I hope you all enjoyed it. What do you like about the South? What things do you like about the South as a Southerner? What are you proud of as a Southerner? And put in the comment sections below. Hope you all go to my website. And remember, folks, say a prayer for someone special today. Bye.